Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our lecturer Dr. Khairul. Today my friend and I will be talking about metal distribution in the environment, and we have picked nickel for this topic. So first and foremost, I will be talking about nickel occurrences in the environment. Okay, nickel is a chemical element with a symbol Ni, an atomic number of 28. It is a silvery white lustrous metal with a slight golden tinge, and it belongs to transition metal and is hard and ductile. And nickel is a naturally occurring element that can exist in various mineral form. It can present in air, water, soil, biological material, and nickel is one of many trace metals widely distributed in the environment, which being released from both natural sources and anthropogenic activity. Natural sources of atmospheric nickel levels include wind-blown dust derived from the weathering of rocks and soils, volcanic emissions, forest fires, and vegetation. So nickel enters ambient of air as a result of the combustion of coal, diesel oil, incineration of waste, and miscellaneous sources. And from the environmental sources of lower level of nickels, it include tobacco, dental or orthopedic implants, stainless steel kitchen utensils, and also inexpensive jewelry.
Next is the issues with nickel. We know that nickel is one of the type of heavy metals, and heavy metals can affect living things. So does nickel. In this section, I want to talk about the effects of nickel on human, plants, and animals. So for the first one, which is the effects of nickel on human. When humans are being exposed, or when humans get an exposure of heavy metals, which is nickel, they can suffer from mainly respiratory problems, such as breathing difficulties, lung inflammation, and also lung cancer. These three falls under the category of lung problems or respiratory problems. And then the next part is skin disease. When humans are affected with nickel, they can suffer from skin problems such as skin rashes or redness. The rashes can appear around neck, around hand, and many other places or part of the body. This is because one of the main reason is nickel is usually found in accessories such as necklace and bracelet. So if the person wears necklace on their body, they might suffer from skin rashes. And there is one allergy called nickel itch. So nickel itch will produce a very itchy feelings on the human body, and this can happen especially when a person having a sensitive skin, or when the concentration of nickel in that particular accessories is really high. Next, moving on to the effects of nickel on animals. For animals, the effects are pretty much similar to human, such as it affects respiratory problems. So when the animals are affected by nickel, they can experience lung inflammation and also lung cancer. But somehow, lung cancer in animals is a rare occasion. That means this rarely happen, and it is nearly impossible, or nearly no cases reported for lung cancer in animals. But if this situation or the contamination is uncontrolled, this can happen in animals maybe in the future. And then the second issue of nickel with animal is it can damage the internal organs or internal part of animal's body. This makes the natural processes or natural body functions of human difficult, and also can be a failure. That means the body processes is failed to function. So that's for animal. And then for plants, plants can suffer from different type of symptoms too. For example, for the first one, nickel can reduce the shoot and root length of the plant. To make this more obvious, we can compare the length of shoot and root for healthy plants, and also for the affected plants. Maybe the affected plants with nickel can have a shorter length of shoot or root. And then the next one is the nickel can cause chlorosis in plants. Chlorosis is some kind of discoloration. So for example, a yellow color might appear on the leaf. And then the next one is the nickel can produce the abnormal flower shape among plants. Usually the beautiful and healthy plants will have a very beautiful blooms, and it has a very nice shape for the flowers. But when it is affected with nickel, it can have some irregular shapes on their edges. And then for the last one, if this situation is becoming bigger or worse, the overall crop production might be reduced. This can make human and animals lost their one of the sources of food as well. So that's all for the issues of nickel.
Here is the examples of effects of nickels on human and also on plant. For the first one, shows a redness on human skin, which is around the neck, and for the second one, it shows the chlorosis that happens in the leaf, where the leaf experience some yellowish color on its leaves.
Okay, moving on to the next slide. It is regarding the determination of nickel by current developed method, and we have chosen this journal entitled Method Development for the Determination of Nickel in Petroleum Using Line Source and High Resolution Continuum Source Graphite Furnace Atomic Absorption Spectrometry, written by Vail et al. Okay, so based on this journal, a variety of spectrometric techniques have been used for determining nickel from crude oil and petroleum, but they have found that flame atomic absorption spectrometry are the method that have been mentioned the most in most publications, meaning that most of the researchers have used this method in order to determine nickel in crude oil and petroleum. Okay, so the instrumentation mentioned in this study, all measurements were carried out using an AES 5EA atomic absorption spectrometer, and they used deuterium background correction, which is equipped with a transversely heated graphite tube atomizer, and Narva hollow cathode lamp for nickel was used. Main analytical line was set at 232.0 nm, and the spectrometer was interfaced to an IBM PC80 compatible computer. Also, the experiments were carried out using pyrolytically coated graphite tube with an integrated pin platform. An NPE5 furnace autosampler was used for introduction of emulsions and solutions, and argon gas was used for the purging gas with a flow rate of 2.01 per minute during all stages. So, based on this based on this journal, they have found that xylene was found to be unsuitable because of their poor long-term stability, and they have found that isobutyl metal ketone IBMK solutions exhibited better stability, and oil in water emulsion using Triton X100 as surfactant gave the best result. And they also use high resolution continuum source graphite furnace atomic absorption spectrometry. By using this method, up to 50% of the low molecular weight nickel in crude oil were lost at pyrolysis temperature, which is more than 400 degrees Celsius, and the rest of the nickel, as well as the nickel standard, was stable up to 1300 degrees Celsius. And the nickel absorption was found at the secondary line at 232.138 nm. And the best characteristic mass obtained was at 27 petagram, and the LOD was around 0.07 Ag per gram nickel in oil based on an emulsion of 2 gram oil in 10 ml. And the accuracy of the procedure was verified by analyzing the certified reference material. Based on this journal, the most reliable procedure in order to determine the nickel concentration in crude oil and petroleum is by ashing of the sample and analysis of the residue after taking up the hydrochloric acid. But this method is quite tedious and it requires careful contact to avoid analyze losses. So, the graphite furnace atomic absorption spectrometry, or GFAAS, appears to be an alternative since the results from a sample dilution with xylene and ashing were found to be practically identical. So, based on this study, the researchers mentioned that this method using the GFAAS was found to be the most suitable in order to determine nickel.
Last one is the case study. So we find out a case study called a case study of selected heavy metals, which are lead, cadmium and nickel, in skin lightening cream and dermal health risk in Malaysia. So this is the highlight of the study. This study actually was done in 2017 in UPM itself under the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health. So moving on to the highlight. First, we know that heavy metals such as nickel is very dangerous and it can affect human in many ways. So actually, where do and how do humans get this exposure? Humans get this exposure by 3 routes of exposure, which are inhalation, ingestion or feeding, and also dermal, which means skin contact. And for this case study, or in this context of case study, the route of exposure is dermal since it is related with cosmetic products and it will be applied on human skin. Well, actually, the concentration or the appearance of nickel in any skin products or any cosmetic products is prohibited unless it is within the safe limit or within the permissible limit, and it must have the approval from Malaysian guideline. According to Malaysian guideline, the safe amount of concentration for nickel in any local or any products is around 5 milligram per kilogram, and in order for the products to be labeled and considered as good, the amount of nickel should be less than 5 milligram per kilogram. So, moving on to this case study, first thing, the researchers they purchased 33 local and non-local skin lightening cream products in Malaysia, and then they brought all of these 33 products into laboratory, and in laboratory they did the wet digestion method and they do the analysis, and not to forget that they also did some calculation. And then after doing the analysis, luckily, they find out that Malaysian lightening cream is safe to use. This is because for both local and non-local products, everything or the nickel is still within the limit or within the permissible range, which is for the local products, the concentration of nickel is around 0.7 milligram per kilogram, while for the non-local products, the concentration of nickel is 0.45 milligram per kilogram. After all, both of them are still safe to use. And then they come out with the conclusion, and after they did the discussion, they said that the Malaysian lightening cream product is safe to use and it can be applied on the skin, and there will be no possibility of any skin rashes to appear. And not only that, there is also no toxicology effects reported and no further concern required because everything is in the safe amount. If the nickel concentration is relatively high, further concern might be required. For example, this can happen when a product contains a very high concentration of nickel, and then people reported the cases. Our guideline, which is from Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia or KKM, might take action on the products itself. So for our personal recommendation, we recommend that before we buy any products or before you purchase any cream products, we can read the label first, we read the ingredients, and then we can even check whether the products are registered under KKM or not. This can help in preventing any worst cases from happening to us. So, to conclude everything, Malaysian lightening cream product can be used and it is safe to be applied on the skin. And excess nickel concentration can affect human in many ways, such as it can produce rashes on human skin, and also it can cause discomfort to human. So, I think that's all from us. Thank you.